Chapter 2: Vows Beneath the Northern Lights. Life after marriage was sweet, but full of challenges. Lin Yu preferred getting up early and going to bed early. Eric was a night owl. She liked to keep the home spotless. He believed comfort is more important than cleanliness. She saved money for rainy days. He preferred to enjoy life in the moment. Their most intense clash happened at a friend's gathering. Eric's friends casually discussed everything, even intimate details and politics, which made Lin Yu uncomfortable. After returning home, she couldn't help but complain, "Why do you Swedes bring every private matter out in the open?" Eric, puzzled, replied, "What's wrong with honest communication? Some things should only be shared with the closest people." Lin Yu raised her voice. That was their first real argument, and it ended with Eric apologizing and compromising, but the seed of conflict had been sown, and similar disputes grew more frequent. On their second wedding anniversary, Lin Yu prepared a lavish Chinese dinner and set candles for atmosphere. But Eric didn't come home until 9 p.m., arriving with only a bouquet. "Sorry, I had a last-minute project meeting," he kissed her cheek. Trying to hold back disappointment, Lin Yu replied, "The food's cold now. We can reheat it." Eric shrugged and turned on the TV to watch soccer. Lin Yu quietly cleared the table, feeling hurt. In China, anniversaries are special, and Eric clearly hadn't taken it seriously. 6 months later, the biggest crisis erupted. On her 30th birthday, Lin Yu brought up planning for a baby. "We should start with a full health checkup, adjust diet and routine, track the ovulation window." She presented a detailed chart. Eric frowned. Why so deliberate? A child should be a natural gift of love. Scientific preparation is vital for the baby's health. Lin Yu insisted. "Sweets take things as they come." Eric shook his head. "You're too tense. It's not good." Again with the Swedes. Lin Yu burst out, "Have you considered my feelings, my culture? Or must I fully adapt to your ways?" Eric froze. "I didn't mean that." "Then what?" Lin Yu's voice trembled. "Every disagreement ends with me giving in. I study Swedish customs. I adapt to Nordic life. Why haven't you changed for me?" "I've done so much for you." Eric raised his voice too. "I'm learning Chinese, eating Chinese food, celebrating Chinese festivals with you." "But it's superficial," Lin Yu cried. "When it comes to important things, you still insist your way is right." Eric slammed the door and left. Lin Yu sat in the dark living room contemplating the future of their marriage. She loved him, but cultural friction, especially over having children, felt increasingly impossible to reconcile. At 2 a.m, Eric returned and gently sat next to her, tears in his red-rimmed eyes. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken like that." Lin Yu didn't respond. Eric took her hand. "I thought all night, maybe we compromise? We follow your plan for 3 months, then go with the flow?" Lin Yu looked up. "It's not just about preparation, Eric. I worry what culture will our child identify with, which festivals, which primary language." Eric was silent. Finally, he said, "I don't know. But we can find the answers together." Outside, snow began to fall over Stockholm. Lin Yu gazed at the man she had loved for over 3 years and realized marriage isn't the end of differences, but the start of learning to live with them. "We need help," she whispered. "Maybe cross-cultural counseling?" Eric held her tightly. "If you're willing to keep trying, so am I." In the long Nordic winter nights, 2 hearts from different cultures continued striving to find harmony. Lin Yu stared at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, her fingers trembling. It was the 3rd month since they'd stopped contraception, perfectly timed according to her plan. She gently touched her flat belly, inspired by a profound sense of purpose. This child would be their strongest bond, their cultural bridge. "Eric!" She rushed from the bathroom, voice wobbly with excitement. In the living room, barefoot and seated on the sofa, Eric was absorbed in a video game. He only said, "Mom?" Without looking up. "I'm pregnant." Lin Yu held up the test before him. The game sounds froze abruptly. Eric's icy blue eyes widened, and the next moment he swept her into an almost overwhelming embrace. "That's wonderful," he kissed her forehead, nose, lips. "See? Going with the flow was best after all." Her smile froze for a moment. Even in this joyful moment, he had to underscore his point. She chose to let it pass and reached for a thick file from the coffee table. "I've already made a pregnancy plan." She opened neatly labeled pages. Folic acid and DHA supplements for the first trimester, prenatal yoga 3 times a week, a playlist of prenatal music. Eric's smile faded. Sweetheart, you don't need to stress. Swedish women go about life almost normally, some even work until a week before due date. That's Swedish women. Linyu couldn't help raising her voice. Chinese women take pregnancy care very seriously. Also, she paused. I've booked the best confinement center in Beijing. Mom will come a month early to take care of me. Eric let go of her, shocked. Your mother to stay a month? At least? Lin Yu was firm. This is tradition, Zuo Yuezi, mothers need special care then. Eric frowned, but our life. She's my mother. Emotion choked Lin Yu, and it's for our baby's health. Don't you know how many postpartum illnesses come from skipping confinement? Eric raised his hands in surrender. Okay, if you insist. But I think modern medicine already. You don't get it. Lin Yu's eyes watered. It's not just medicine, it's culture, tradition. Can you try to understand what matters to me? On the way to their first prenatal checkup, the car was tense. Lin Yu stared out at the passing snow, fingers brushing her abdomen. Since that confinement argument, an invisible coldness had settled between them. Eric tried to lighten the mood. The doctor said we might hear the heartbeat today. Lin Yu barely responded and continued scanning a Chinese parenting app. She had joined a group of overseas Chinese moms sharing traditional care experiences, a comforting anchor. Oh, she began. I downloaded some Chinese lullabies. Playing them daily is good for brain development. Eric drummed his fingers on the wheel. Isn't it too early? The language center isn't developed yet. Prenatal education can start at 3 months. Lin Yu cited the app. And I want our child to speak fluent Chinese and understand Chinese culture. He'll learn Chinese, Eric replied calmly. But the main languages should be Swedish and English since we live here. Lin Yu snapped. He? How do you know it's a boy? And why can't Chinese be a main language? Just saying, Eric sighed. The child will choose what culture they like. I don't think we need to decide everything now. If we don't start early, there's no choice. Lin Yu's voice quivered. Like my cousin's child born in Germany and now won't speak Chinese at all. Eric pulled into the hospital. What's wrong with being westernized? We live here. It means cutting off half their cultural roots. Lin Yu unbuckled her seatbelt. That's part of me, Eric. If the child rejects Chinese culture, they're rejecting me. The checkup went smoothly. When the Doppler picked up the strong little heartbeat, Lin Yu burst into tears. Eric held her hand, and they both were awed by the miracle. All is normal, the doctor said, removing her gloves. Any questions? Lin Yu sat up. About postpartum care. China has Zuo Yuezi. Is that necessary? The doctor raised her eyebrows at Eric. Good question. Western medicine underestimates postpartum recovery. Proper rest and nutrition are crucial, especially for Asian women. Eric looked astonished. So, you recommend it? Not necessarily locking the mother at home, the doctor clarified, but the first 6 weeks do need special care. If her mother can help, that's very beneficial. Exiting the office, Eric seemed uneasy. I didn't know medicine supports that too. Now you know, Lin Yu gently took his arm. This was a small victory in bridging their cultures, but she knew the real challenges lay ahead. 2 weeks before the due date, Lin Yu's mother arrived in Stockholm. Pushing her luggage cart through customs, she looked thinner and much older, hair mostly white, but her eyes brightened as she saw her daughter. Mom! Lin Yu ran into her arms, inhaling the faint scent of medicinal herbs. Tears stung her nose. It had been 2 years since they last saw one another. Her mother, speaking in Ningbo dialect, fussed. I brought all your favorites: preserved mustard greens, goji berries, angelica. Oh dear, Sweden's so cold. Why you dress so lightly? Eric awkwardly forced a smile. Hello, Mom. He attempted in broken Chinese to help with the bags, but Lin Yu's mother stepped back protectively. I'll take these, she said sharply. You don't understand, they're valuable herbs. In the car, she peppered Lin Yu with questions about her diet and routines, ignoring Eric, who sat tensely in the driver's seat. Lin Yu saw his stiff jaw in the rearview mirror and felt her chest tighten. That night, a conflict erupted. Her mother insisted on sleeping in the guest room closest to the master bedroom for convenient nighttime care, but that room was Eric's office. I can move downstairs, Eric quietly told Lin Yu. But your mother's staying 2 whole months? She can hear. Lin Yu stood awkwardly between them, acting as translator. Her mother didn't know English but sensed the tension. She snapped in Chinese, You, it seems this Western son-in-law doesn't welcome me. Had I known, I wouldn't let you marry so far away. Mom, Lin Yu choked up. Eric just needs time to adapt. Adapt to what? Her mother hissed. In China, a son-in-law must respect his mother-in-law. Eric finally gave in, but that led to a week of frosty silence. Lin Yu cried facing the wall each night, caught between husband and mother, while Eric lay turned away as though a barrier separated them. 3 days before the due date, Lin Yu's water broke. The 18-hour labor ended when their tiny, purple-skinned daughter was placed on her chest. Lin Yu exhausted beyond words. She vaguely saw Eric cutting the umbilical cord, tears glistening in his eyes, and heard her mother fervently recalling, "She looked just like you," before slipping into unconsciousness. The second day postpartum, her mother began strict confinement routines. She brewed daily dark medicinal soups, forbidding Lin Yu from bathing or showering, even from walking. Nurses at the hospital were shocked and tried to intervene but were firmly rebuffed. This is a 1,000-year tradition. Her mother declared in broken English, "You don't understand." Eric stood in the hospital room's corner, increasingly agitated. When his mother-in-law tightly swaddled the baby's legs, he finally snapped. "What are you doing?" He rushed forward. "This will harm her hips." "Nonsense," her mother shot back. "My daughter was swaddled this way, and her legs turned out perfectly straight." Lin Yu lay weakly between them, watching them clash without power to stop it. The infant was startled awake and began crying loudly. "That's enough," Lin Yu finally imploded. "Both of you get out." That night, once quiet returned to the ward, Lin Yu softly sang a Chinese lullaby to her daughter. The baby blonde like Eric, with her own almond-shaped eyes, was a perfect cultural fusion. But Lin Yu felt utterly alone. She longed for her mother's traditional care and needed her husband's support, but couldn't have both. Back home, tensions eased a bit. Eric avoided confrontation with his mother-in-law, and Lin Yu's mother grudgingly allowed him to care for the baby the Western way, but only when he was home. The moment he left for work, she reverted to traditional methods, scheduled feeding, herbal baths, even talismans in the baby's room. Lin Yu knew Eric would be upset but felt too weak to stop her mother. In the third postpartum week, Eric came home early and found her mother giving acupuncture to the crying baby. The tension finally exploded.